Hi students, my name is Ms. Atai and I am your instructor for AP Psychology. So today we are going to be having a sample lesson. This is from the Biological Basis of Behavior section of the AP exam. This exam is going to be 8 to 10% of your final grade. So one part of the exam is going to ask you to memorize all parts of the neuron, which is a brain cell that makes up our brain. So as far as that goes, I want to go over the different parts of the neuron and what they actually do. So first we have the cell body, which is right here. And this is where you'll usually find the nucleus as well as other parts of the cell to actually sustain the neuron's life. Here we have the axon. We have an axon here, and I'm going to use my pen to show you the axon here, the axon here, and you have another one here, and another one here. So axons are wire-like structures and they're needed to actually sustain life in the cell. Terminal buttons are usually at the end of the axon. So we see them here. You see them here. And then you have in terminal buttons or axon terminals, these are actually going to be housing neurotransmitters that are going to be coming into the cell throughout different times of the day, depending on whether you're sleeping or whether you're awake. We also have the synapse. The synapse of the cell is a gap between one neuron and the dendrites of another neuron. So the synapse would be, you see the dendrites here. If I was to draw another neuron here, this gap is the synapse. This is the synapse. And then we have the myelin sheath. So the myelin sheath is this fatty covering, and it's on top of the axons here. And so this is actually going to speed up some of the neural impulses. And I think that part's pretty self-explanatory. Dendrites, they're these stem-like parts at the end of the cell body. So I'm circling them here. Dendrites, dendrites, dendrites. And these are actually going to make synaptic connections with other neurons in the brain. And we also have the nodes of Ranvier. So these are gaps between neurons. So nodes of Ranvier are going to be here. Nodes of Ranvier. There are these small little gaps between neurons. So this is another node of Ranvier. And then you have another node of Ranvier. So all of these are gaps between the neurons. And then we also have another topic that I want to talk about, which is neurotransmission, which is how these neurons actually travel not only within your brain, but also within different parts of your body's physiological systems and how they actually can change our mood, change our eating habits, as well as our interest in day-to-day activities. So neurotransmission, what you should know is that the first part of how a neuron actually moves throughout the brain consist of an electrical impulse called an action potential. And this action potential actually travels down the axon, which we know is right here and right here, until it reaches this very small junction called a synapse. So synapse you see here. And then when an action potential actually reaches the axon terminal, it's going to stimulate the release of neurotransmitter molecules. And these molecules across the synaptic gap are going to actually bind onto the receptor sites of the receiving neuron. And then from there, the electrically charged atom is then going to enter the receiving neuron. And then from there, once it's in the new neuron, it's going to inhibit or excite a new action potential. And then from there, we have another neuron that's going to come usually after this new action. So we have this new action potential. And then from there, you have a new neuron that's going to normally reabsorb excess neurotransmitter molecules. So this new neuron, when it's doing the reabsorption of the new neurotransmitter molecules, this is a process that's called reuptake. So here we can think of the neuron actually reabsorbing new neurotransmitter molecules in a process that's called reuptake. So this is reuptake. Okay, and then from there, that is actually those are the three processes of neurotransmission as well as reuptake. And this is another diagram that you can utilize to refamiliarize yourselves with the neuron itself. And that is going to be our lesson for today on neurotransmission as well as reuptake. And that will be part of the biological basis of behavior section of the AP psychology exam. Thank you for coming, and best of luck.